Welcome to the Two-Cast, everybody. I am your host, Lucas McCormick, and I am joined by the longtime, ever-present, yearly, annual, maybe not so much anymore,
Not the last
guest,
few.
Russell Johnston. Russell, hi. Welcome back to the Two-Cast after give or take 4 years.
It doesn't feel like that, but I guess it has been a few. But it's good to be back. Good to talk movies with you as always.
Yeah. So, we're going to talk about the best of 2020, which we should have done roughly 3 years ago. We're going to cover some interesting topics. We decided to shorten the list from our typical 10 to 15 to around 6 or 7. We're going to do a top 5, an honorable mention, and we're going to just talk about some more fun aspects, just to keep it a little snappier than we typically do. But know that I would say, at least for this year, and probably the next couple years when we're going to get to those, most of these are pretty equal, in my opinion. They're not like any of them is like super worse than the other. So I would say anything we say on this list is a pretty like big thumbs up recommendation from either of us, right? Wouldn't you say that, Russell?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's just kind of jump into it, and we'll see where this goes. But in our typical fashion, we're going to cover what happened in this year of 2020. And then we're going to talk about like what went on in our lives, and then we're going to talk about some movies. So let's get into it. So I'll just kind of get the ball rolling real quickly. So what happened in 2020, Russell? And that is
not much.
Not
it was
much.
kind of a quiet year. Don't hard to remember. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think without saying without having to explain too much, the pandemic happened, which we lightly touched on in our Best of 2019 podcast, but we were only a few months into lockdown at that point, so we had no idea exactly where things were going to go, what was going to survive, what wasn't going to survive, what was changing. So yeah, let's just cover some of the details. But obviously, pandemic included the lockdown. It included a lot of industries, not just entertainment, but a lot of industries changing, closing, or going on hiatus for a while. One of those being the movie industry, both on the theater public aspect. Movie theaters shut down for several months in most towns and cities, except for in maybe major cities they would open for specific type deals. And then there were several delays and several delays on releases and production starting in 2020 on the production end of film, the making of movies. So yeah, do you have any comments on those things in particular?
Yeah, well, I think in a bad or negative way that the 2020 was probably the I don't know if significance is the right word, but like definitely most weird year for movies in terms of changing, because there just so many got delayed, so many didn't get made with the theaters closed for long. So many of the things we were excited about didn't come out or got pushed back a year or two. Disruptive, I guess that's a good word. It was the most disruptive year for movies in my lifetime, and maybe ever, since kind of the early days of movies. And that, yeah, it was a bummer. I mean, not to make light of the larger pandemic issue, but in terms of movies, which is a thing a lot of people like, it really was slow. A lot of the big budget stuff especially got pushed back because that stuff they'd want to make the box office revenue from the theater. So I don't know if I'm spoiling anything, but this may have been the worst year for movies I can think of. Not that there aren't good stuff, and some of the stuff in there I really like, but it was a rough year.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of delays, a lot of shutdowns, like you said.
Yeah. It's so funny. So I was, like I said, I was listening to our previous podcast, and we were talking about 2019, and we mentioned how like 2019 was this massive year for sequels, big franchises. Like it was a big year for movie theaters alone, like just because of Marvel and Star Wars and a bunch of these other stuff. Um, but yeah, just pretty crazy stuff. Um, one thing, one question I want to ask you is: do you remember the last movie you saw in 2020 or 2019 before the pandemic had shut down movie theaters? Because I
The
remember
last one I saw in the theater,
in the theaters, yeah.
not off the top of my head, but I could figure it out. What were you gonna say?
I'm pretty sure it's either Invisible Man or Sonic the Hedgehog. Those were the last two movies I saw in theaters.
Okay, mine. I saw Parasite. That was, I think I saw that in early 2020.
You didn't watch
Or did
that?
that come out in
I
in
think it came out in
2019?
2019, but
Like, was that a summer one?
I don't know if it was a summer one, but I think it actually released before Oscar season. Because I
Yeah,
remember
let me.
seeing it before they did the Oscars.
If I can figure this out because that's a pretty interesting question. Yeah, it would be fun to like. I remember the last movie I saw in the theater before my first kid was born because we went
Yeah,
and saw Lincoln.
yeah,
Like, but I knew he was going to be born any day, or any like. Well, we're going to sit in a 3 hour movie while you're really uncomfortable and 9 months pregnant. Um,
hmm
but that is not the pen. Okay, so I'm. But you can keep. I can
yeah.
do
It,
my
it's
research while you
it,
keep looking.
it's okay if you just give me a guess. Like I said, like I'm pretty sure it was Sonic or Invisible Man. Like that was the last time I was in theaters, and then it took I would say at least a year and a half before I re-entered a movie theater again. Um, which that was in 2021, which we'll get to that. But yeah, going back to kind of the delays of releases, there were several movies that got delayed. Some uh, didn't end up releasing on in the theatrical formats. We mentioned like Trolls 2 just dropped straight on streaming because it was basically out already. There were a few other movies that were coming out like that, and then a lot of them got delayed. Like Quiet Place 2 got delayed, Fast 9 got delayed, No Time to Die got delayed, Black Widow got delayed. You know, several pretty big tentpole movies that were going to drive people back into the theaters got delayed. And so it was just to note those movies. Like it was pretty crazy to go from this big year of Avengers, Star Wars, all of these like big films, Parasite. Like 2019 was a huge year for movies. To yeah, movies are only on streaming now, basically.
Yeah.
um, uh, but yeah, kind of to transition on that, movies got dumped on streaming. And this was probably one of the best years for the streaming platforms, specifically Netflix, Apple TV, Disney Plus, and HBO Max at the time. Now renamed Max, all had great years that year, which is really funny because it was Disney Plus's and Apple TV's first year on making content and releasing content. Um, so we had some big stuff like Tiger King really blew up, and
Yeah.
there was a bunch of like smaller movies that really got some big attention. Some we might mention in our lists. That came out. So quite an interesting year for streaming. That year, the super awesome sports documentary, The Last Dance, about Michael
Yep. I saw that.
Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. Which, if you guys listen to any of my other podcasts that I work on, you might know that I have spent a lot of time in the research department of that one with Jill and James. But yeah, like pretty insane stuff. What would you say? Any thoughts to like the streaming and theater changes that you want to share, Russell?
Yeah, I did. I think I have an answer for the last movie I saw in
Oh,
theater,
great, yeah.
and you'll be happy to know. I believe it was with you.
Oh, it was.
Well, I think on either the same day or the same weekend, because they both came out the same weekend. But I think I might have seen them on the same day, which is really, it's probably the only time I've gone to two movies in a theater in the same day in 20 years. But 1917 I saw with you, and
Oh,
then
right.
Little Women. Uh, I think I saw with Aaron.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were like January. So the 2 months before the pandemic, I didn't go see like Birds of Prey or
Yeah.
Sonic or any of those kind of mid to bigger releases. But yeah, so we'll just assume 1917 with you was the last one. That and Little Women.
That checks out. Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of
Yeah.
streaming stuff, yeah, that was, man, it's all a blur at this point. But yeah, I remember Disney Plus being a really big deal. How they release it for such a cheap price to get the
Yeah.
installation base in. Now it's probably tripled in price in the
Oh,
last 4
pretty
years.
close to that because it was
Um,
like $7 at release. Same with, and then
yeah, I
Apple
know
was
I
like
did the thing where
$5.
like if you pay for the whole year up front, you get like almost half price.
Yeah.
So I did that. But I remember just streaming was kind of the way to consume movies for most of the year because,
Yeah.
like I said, theaters were closed, and if stuff was coming out, it was coming on streaming. Or I'll probably talk more about this later when we talk about our older movie stuff. But I watched a lot. I watched more older movies in 2020 than I had in any year in
Yeah.
the last probably 15 years, maybe, except when I was first getting into film, like when I was in college and
Right.
going out of my way to watch a lot of old stuff. So this was like my dip back into old movies through streaming services was the way to do that. So I really appreciate it, like on the Turner Classic Movies on Max
Oh,
and
yeah.
Netflix has
Yeah.
decent library and those sorts of things. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think a lot of people will probably look back on 2020 and go, yeah, I was watching a lot of TV. Because, I mean, like, during the early, the springtime, especially when work was kind of on pause for most industries, like, people all of a sudden had all this time to, like catch up on things that they had
yeah.
missed and stuff.
And binge Tiger King and Last Dance, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was that first 6 months of the pandemic, and
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of interesting stuff. Some interesting factoids. We didn't have a single main series MCU film or TV anything in the year 2020. Black Widow would have been the only thing, and obviously it got delayed. So until 2021, there was no MCU stuff. So from Spider-Man it wasn't No Way Home. Spider-Man Far From Home, the sequel,
yeah. Second one, right?
to to WandaVision. There wasn't a single MCU thing released during that time, which was roughly a year and a half, I think, give or take, which is kind of crazy. We definitely had some Star Wars stuff. We had like the Clone Wars came back, and I think that was closer to 2021, but it was still like just to go from like massive releases, every few months to nothing for a significant amount of time was just crazy. I would say there was a major change in the gaming took a huge jump in media consumption for
Yeah,
people. A lot of people started gaming for the first time with Animal Crossing.
yeah,
The Switch became a household console for a lot of people. And then there were gaming shortages in the end of the year with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. And then graphics cards for PCs being scalped or shortaged because of, not lack of resources to make them and develop them.
yeah,
Which I think was a big thing to mention.
And that
And
was the well, maybe you're about to say this, but the announcements and then the launches in the fall of PS5 and Xbox
yes,
Series X
yeah.
was just trying, yeah, trying to get your hand on one of those was really hard. I lucked out and was able to somehow successfully pre-order a PS5 and get one on launch day. Well, I think mine came 2 days late, but whatever, I won't complain.
You were one of the only people I think I knew that was able to get one, because like I went to
Yeah.
GameStop to try and get an Xbox, and it was an impossible task, so I ended up settling for an Xbox One, and then I got a cheap PC off of someone else. After that, I really got into gaming. Ironically, a video game that came out in 2019 very accurately described the experience that 2020 was going to be, which is Death Stranding by Hideo Kojima, you know, the world's greatest video game developer / filmmaker. Which, not to spoil too much of what Death Stranding is, but it's a game about you playing you're basically a mailman in a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
Male person,
Yeah.
Lucas, come on. Mail carrier. No,
A porter, as they say in the game.
Yeah.
Which is very funny. I do find it funny that Hideo Kojima, when he announced Death Stranding 2, he said that, yeah, we had to rewrite the script so we didn't re-predict what was going to happen in the future.
Yeah, I did play that probably that year, 2020, 2021, sometime,
Yeah.
I think, during the pandemic. And that's being turned into a movie or a show now?
I believe it's getting a movie adaptation by A24 in collaboration, I think, with Sony a little bit, which I think is very fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm very excited for the sequel game.
Yeah, it's interesting that was such a big year for more people playing games, but well, we'll talk about this whenever we do our 2023, 2024 pods, but how much video games are becoming like the new comic books for movies and shows. Like that's the way to get IP, you know, with the Mario movie and Last of Us and Fallout. So it's interesting to see that thread from 2020.
It's just like video games are no longer like the nerdy thing to do now, which is just super fascinating. And I would say 2020 had a big step in that direction. But yeah. Other big things that were going on, Zoom, which we are currently recording this on, became the biggest piece of software that we use for communication, along with some other pieces of software like Discord, FaceTime. Surprisingly, the one that could have been bigger was Skype. Skype was nowhere to be found in 2020. In terms of technology, ChatGPT 3 was being built this year, which is we'll get to a little bit later. We won't talk about too much, but I think that's something to mention. TikTok became the probably most viewed new social media platform. It wasn't new for 2020, but it became the one that a lot of people gravitated towards, and I feel like had more of an influence on how filmmaking has changed on a like viewer to creator aspect level. In terms of like, I mean, there's several movies now that do like a TikTok bit if they're trying to like appeal to younger people. I can say like as recent as the Mean Girls 2024 has like a whole scene that's filmed like a TikTok. That's kind of interesting.
I'll be watching that soon. It's on Prime now, so nice. I'll hopefully watch it in the next few weeks.
And then another big thing that was happening in 2020 was the major protests of injustice on police brutality, specifically both on social media and in public, because of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and many others. That's just something to note culturally that was going on, as well as we were headed towards a big election year. So there was a lot happening. There was a vote in 2020. there was a lot that was going on. So I don't know. Is there any other like cultural things that you want to mention before we talk about like what specifically we did that year?
I don't think I when we first started, I was thinking, oh yeah, that was also the election year. But you hit on it at the end.
Yeah.
I don't think so. It really all does all blur together. So,
Yeah.
but
Seriously.
pandemic and election were the two, like, and protests and stuff was all the main wider cultural thing. Wider,
Yeah.
WIDER.
Yeah.
Wider. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So Russell, I mean, we kind of mentioned like what movie was the last movie you saw in theaters, but like what did you do in 2020? You and I kind of have a little bit of a different perspective. Like, you're a parent. I was entering my final year of college, so I was still a student this year. Yeah. And I mentioned I got into gaming a lot more this year, which I've been talking about a little bit on this podcast and other places.
Yeah, I think I hate to sound a little selfish or like insensitive to others, but the year was pretty good for me. I don't wish that there was a pandemic and didn't enjoy the pandemic, but it was kind
Right.
of nice slowing down. I'm a homebody. I I mean, I was still kind of social, talking to people, Zooming with some people, but
Yeah.
just being at home with my family, and I got two noisy kids around. They were about 7 and
Mm-hmm.
3 at the time, that year. It I never felt like too stir crazy or stuck. I mean, we were stuck inside, but yeah, it was just that aspect, getting to hang out more at home, play more video games, watch a lot more movies.
Mm-hmm.
Work stuff still was pretty good for me, working at the church, and getting to do, like, I learned how to live stream, since we're
Yeah.
talking about visual stuff, and more stuff with how audio works with live streaming and computers and soundboards. So I got to learn some new fun skills at
Yeah.
work and stuff related to movie and video. And I think, man, oh yeah, and I did some made a couple small little movie, like a stop motion animation with my oldest kid. I think that was during the pandemic. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we like, I bought a drone, and not that I've used it that much, but I used it, did some filming with the drone for fun, just random stuff like that. That was kind of fun, just trying to do different stuff. I have a park across from my house, so played there a bunch. Yeah, so that was kind of my 2020.
Cool. Yeah. I think the last thing that I mentioned in 2020, I was making like tons of podcasts specifically on movie franchises and TV shows. I made like so many podcasts that year. I think we pushed my podcast from like 20-ish episodes to like 50 episodes over the course of the next year. And then in the following year, it all kind of came crashing down. Hence why we haven't recorded a podcast like this in a minute, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah. Cool. I don't have anything else to add. Do you want to add anything before we kind of jump into the movies a little bit?
Let's do it.
Cool. Awesome. Let's jump into some movies. So, like I said, we're going to do a little bit of a different format. 5 movies plus 1 honorable mention. We're also going to be talking about some new aspects, like what was our favorite scene from the year? What was an honorable mention? Or, no, we already mentioned that. What was our favorite old movie that we watched? And the criteria is the movie has to be 10 years or older. And then what was the best technical aspect we saw in 2020? And so I think to start it off, let's just do our honorable mentions. Do you want to start it off, Russell?
Sure. I picked a film called Mangrove, and I got to explain it a little bit for those that don't know. And you said you haven't seen this, right?
I have not seen this.
So this one I would have put in my top 5, as I told you earlier when we were off air, but technically it might not qualify because this was from a mini series called Small Acts, where I believe there's 5 feature-length films that are thematically related, but the plot is not related at all. Like none of the story carries over, and it's set. And it's been a while. I watched this 4 years ago, and I didn't rewatch it. But yeah, it's from Steve McQueen, who was most famous for doing 12 Years a Slave, Best Picture winner in 2013, and he's done some other stuff you might have seen. You meaning whoever's listening to this. But so he did a mini series, and they're all about like the Black and African experience in the UK, set if I'm remembering right, kind of 60s, 70s, and 80s. So there's 5 full-length films, but it was a streaming mini series. But it's kind of, yeah, since it's feature length, they're technically like films, but I don't think it released in theaters. So I picked Mangrove, which was probably, not probably, it was my favorite of the 5. They were all good, but this one was my favorite. And now, since I haven't rewatched it, and it's been 4 years, I couldn't actually recall the plot. Like, I couldn't give you like a little intro. It has to do with the court case. But yeah, it's really good. I wish I could pitch it better, but yeah, I liked it a lot. And yeah, the series is pretty serious. It's a lot to do with racism and injustice. But there's one of the 5 is more of like a fun, almost like just a house party with a lot of people and dancing, and isn't that serious. So yeah, it just goes into different experiences of what it was like to be black and an immigrant in the UK in some of those decades. So yeah, wanted to give it a little shout out. And so yeah, it's Mangrove from the Small Axe series. Oh, and I should say that I believe it still is, but it was all on Amazon Prime. So most people have Prime. So if that sounds interesting, you'll be able to watch it.
Yes, I'm looking at the IMDb page right now. It does say it is streaming on Prime still.
Yeah, I think they exclusive straight to Prime.
Yeah. And for argument's sake, it does look like on the poster it says Small Axe, a collection of 5 films. So I would say,
yeah,
for argument's sake,
counting it.
It's counted as a film. But I can see as like I won't talk about it in this list, but on the 2021 list, I have a series of films that were released like TV episodes as well. That we'll get to a little bit later. But yeah, so. Yeah, I think that's fine. That's awesome. I've wanted to watch this for a while now. I still haven't gotten to it. I would say within the last year or so, I kind of like reshaped how I watched TV. Not within 2020, but within like literally it's 2024. So within the last year, 2023, I kind of was like, okay, why am I hiding from TV so much? It was just because I didn't like Game of Thrones was a lot for me. And I wanted to like, okay, I want to get back into TV a little bit, and I found some really cool stuff that's come out since. Anyways, my honorable mention, Love and Monsters, which is a movie you recommended to me, Russell.
Yeah.
Starring Dylan O'Brien, who I will pull up the video. I'll pull up the IMDb page for it right now. And Jessica Henwick, as well as Michael Rooker. This movie was such a cute film, and I'm bummed that it didn't come out in theaters because it was so well done and well crafted. It's like this movie about the title says it all. It's a love story, but also there are gigantic monsters and creatures that are like kaiju sized. And it takes place after an apocalypse, where the world everyone's like in bunkers, and there's a bunch of, giant things that roam the outside, and Dylan O'Brien
where's this outside though?
It happens to be in Fairfield, California, which is kind of interesting, which you're pretty familiar with.
I had to interrupt you because I did like it. I did enjoy the movie and recommend. It's fun. So yeah, it starts. The main character lives in Fairfield, California, which is where I lived for basically from 2 to 17 till I went to college. My parents still lived there, and then the character, not really a spoiler, goes on a journey trying to go towards the coast. What, that's what, 40 miles or so, 50
Yeah.
miles from Fairfield. He goes over to like Jenner, California, which is pretty close to where I live now and where Lucas grew up in Sonoma County.
Yeah.
So there's not too many movies that have any scenes in Fairfield, California, or nearby, but just the fact that it was set there, and then they go on a journey, basically from where they would have journeyed through the whole movie, is places I grew up going to, and close to where I live now. But the funny thing is, they didn't film any of it here,
Right.
so it doesn't look that in the beginning when they are in Fairfield, it kind of looks like it could be just like the way the houses look in the neighborhood, like maybe kind
Yeah.
of. But when they're like going through the kind of the jungly wildlife parts, I'm like, that doesn't. I know what it would look like between Fairfield and Jenner, and
Yeah.
it's pretty brown, up like Lake Berryessa and all
Yeah.
up kind of by where your grandma does live, or yeah, in the hills
Yes.
between
Yeah.
before Napa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can get kind of ugly. It's pretty in this movie, but it was really fun
Yes. Yeah.
to have it be set here, and just it was a fun movie also.
Yeah, yeah. What I wrote down was the cast is super fun and quirky. Boy, the dog character is the best boy. I don't really need to say much more than that. It's Dylan O'Brien kind of starts as this like shut in, like really nervous and afraid character, and becomes goes on this journey of growth to go and find his long lost like high school love, basically. And it's just really cute. And the VFX in this movie, I mean, the monsters just look incredible. They look super fantastic. So this movie really, it really got hurt by not being a theatrical release, because like I don't think anyone I know besides you watched this, and a couple of YouTubers that I follow. But I don't know, what are your thoughts on it?
It's been probably a good 4 years since I've seen it, but I remember liking it, just like, oh, this is fun. Like the action's good, the story's pretty good. It's this somewhat heartfelt and touching. Like it's not like just to us totally silly, but it is silly in a good way. Like the
Yes.
title obviously is very playful and the tone of the movie, but uh and I remember I remember texting some people like, I can't believe that, like
Yeah.
my brother and some of my friends, like, and you, like, oh, it's funny that there's a post-apocalyptic movie that starts in Fairfield. But besides that, I remember like, oh, it's telling people it's worth watching. And yeah. So again, it's 4 years. It's been 4 years. So I don't remember it too well, but I do remember liking it.
Yeah. Well, if you get the chance, this is a great movie if you're looking for something a little heartfelt. But
Did you
it's
say
got
if
some...
it's streaming somewhere right now?
Currently, it does not look like it, but let me pull up Just Watch, because that's a little bit more accurate than IMDb is. Let's see here. Love and Monsters. It is currently not streaming anywhere, but I'm sure that could change at any moment. But it is for rental and purchase. But it's worth it. Definitely, if you're looking for something that is heartfelt, cute, got a little bit of action, a lot of good comedy, you're gonna enjoy this. This is a great film. Definitely recommend Love and Monsters. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say to that degree. Cool. Let's quickly jump in. If you have any, I want to ask, is your favorite scene in a film that's in your list?
Yes.
Okay. Then hold on to your favorite scene.
I will.
Is your best technical aspect in a film that's on your list?
No, but it is on your list.
Okay,
we have the same best technical aspect.
Great. Well, then I'll save that for that. Why don't we do our old movie? Or wait, no, let's save the old movie for right before we do the first one. Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Just to kind of break it up. Let's move on to our list. let's do your top 5. So your number
All
5.
right, so start with number 5. So before I jump in, I did my best to rewatch all of the things that maybe could have made my top 5 and or did make my top 5. And this was one of the only ones I didn't, and that's because it was initially available on Netflix when it first released, and that's The Father, but it's not on Netflix anymore. So I did not rewatch this. I could have paid somewhere to rent it, but I didn't. Uh, and I also haven't seen this in probably about 4 years. So this is one I can't speak very eloquently about, other than that I know I liked it and it was really good. I liked it a lot. But so The Father, I'll read the 2-sentence little blurb. A man refuses all assistance from his daughter as he ages. So that's Anthony Hopkins, and his daughter is the great Olivia Colman. As he tries to make sense of his changing circumstances, he begins to doubt his loved ones, his own mind, and even the fabric of his reality. So it's, if I remember right, it all kind of takes place in his kind of apartment or house, and Anthony Hopkins, is dealing with like Alzheimer's or dementia, memory loss. And you're kind of experiencing the movie from, if I remember right, mostly his perspective, or it's like not it's like a first person, but you kind of, more than any other movie that I've seen that deals with memory loss. Well, maybe besides Memento, but that's kind of a different category. That's more of a fun, not a drama. It helps you kind of get into his shoes of how it would feel to experience memory loss and having, your kids coming in and people helping take care of you, but you're not really understanding what's going on. So I remember it being compelling to watch just because it was original, and obviously Anthony Hopkins is amazing and Olivia Colman's always amazing. So the acting's great. And then it also was pretty moving, like I was saying, just getting into the shoes as best as a movie can do of someone experiencing what he's experiencing. So again, I haven't seen it in 4 years. I kind of more remember the impression it made on me and how interesting it was than much of the specifics. Like, I don't remember what happens in the story, and there's probably not much of a plot. It's a guy losing his memory in a house. But I really liked it. I wish I could have rewatched it, but I put it at 5. I forget, did you say you've seen this one?
I have not seen this one, no. So I don't have much to add. I do remember it getting a lot of award season buzz.
Oh yeah, I'm clicking on that now. I think
it does seem like at this moment when we're recording this, it does seem to be streaming on Stars. So if anyone has Stars, I don't know a single person that does. You could watch it there. But otherwise, rent it. But sounds good. Yeah, I mean, of course, Olivia Colman and Anthony Hopkins sounds fantastic.
Okay.
Wouldn't have any...
Won Best Actor for Anthony Hopkins and Best Adapted Screenplay. Nominated for a few others, but not Best Picture.
Gotcha. Cool.
Oh, no, it was nominated for Best Picture. I had to just click. It's funny, they didn't list that at the top. That was like the click here for more, and then it was the one. Okay. So yeah, So there's a good amount of people that have seen this, and yeah, like I said, it was like on Netflix pretty right away, I think.
Yeah.
What about you? What was your number 5?
My number 5 was Bad Education.
Ooh, I like that one.
Which I don't know a single person other than maybe you watched. Which is a absolute travesty, because this movie is truly fantastic. Has one of the best casts for this small film about a true story. I'm looking it up right now. But the basics of this story are, it's about the superintendent and school district staff that get caught for embezzling money from the school district. And it stars, let me just read out the cast real quickly. Hugh
Wolverine.
Jackman, Ray Romano, Allison Janney, Geraldine Viswanathan,
Oh yeah, one of her early roles, huh?
One of her earlier roles.
She's good in everything, yeah.
Welker Wright and Anna Lee Ashford. Like stunning cast, incredible movie. It's directed by the Corey Finley, who did I think it was in my best of 2018 list, Thoroughbreds, which also incredible film. Um, Geraldine's performance in this really showed her range. I had just gotten to know her from her role in the first season of Miracle Workers when I had seen this. So I think she's an incredible actress, and I think she just got cast in the MCU for something, which is really exciting. She is an incredible actress. She plays the student who gets the scoop on the story.
She works for the newspaper, right?
She works for the school paper, yes.
Yeah, it's coming back to me.
Yeah. Hugh Jackman is also a powerhouse in this film. How he's filmed is so methodical, to show kind of the mannerisms of this character. So Hugh Jackman just I mean, he's an incredible actor already, but he does such a good job inhabiting this character who's this super well loved community member and political figure. And Allison Janney gives a really great performance, like I mentioned. She plays there's two people embezzling. She plays the second one. She is... this movie just asks a lot of questions of is it worth it to expose this? Because if you do, it brings a ton of shame to this community. Because the community was successful. Things were going well. You know, the school district was doing super well. The community was thriving because of that. And if you don't understand what I mean by that, when a school district does well in the States, it really can bring in a lot of resources for the community, and it can do a lot of things for schools. It can keep school upkeep really well. So to have these things going super well is a big deal, and for it to just kind of all come crashing down can cause a lot of misfortune on a community. So because school is one of the bigger tenets of how the government and taxes work, so it's pretty crazy for that reason. One thing that I saw in a video essay that I can't remember who was by, but I'll try and cite it in the description, was that there's a big use of color in this film. The American flag colors and the color green. So a lot of shots will always have something that's red, something that's white, and something that's blue. Oftentimes Hugh Jackman's character will be wearing colors that fit well into that, to kind of prop up this American fantasy of community. And whenever green is shown, it's shown as a position of less power or lower class.
Mm-hmm.
So Geraldine is often seen in green in multiple different moments in this movie. So there's a lot of just different things about it that is really interesting. The pacing of this film is great, the cinematography is great, and the costume design is also fantastic for a movie that's shot and set in the early 2000s, roughly. Yeah. Do you have anything you want to say about Bad Education, Russell?
Yeah, I liked it a lot, and it on my list, it was around my top 20. So I definitely liked it quite a bit. And this was an HBO original movie.
Correct.
So, and I did check. It is streaming on HBO or Max right now. So
Yes.
Those who have access, it's there. Yeah, I really liked it as kind of a, well, I guess I wouldn't call it a satire because it's based on a true story, but a dark comedy. I guess it's kind of a satire of larger American culture, maybe you could say. But yeah, I think I haven't rewatched this one, but I remember it pretty well. I liked it a lot, and the cast is great. And one cool thing is, I think Hugh Jackman will pretty much, Wolverine will be the character, the role that people will always think of Hugh Jackman, and maybe Les Mis, Jean Valjean, and some other stuff. But when I see Hugh Jackman when he does his like Broadway stuff at the Academy Awards, like, you know, singing and dancing, and I don't know. Oh, and Greatest Showman. Oh, how could I forget that? Those Gen Z folks love their Greatest Showman or whatever. But this character almost reminds me more of like the real Hugh Jackman, or like when he's doing his fun act, when he's not in his Wolverine tough guy action star. When he's not saying that's what he's really like in, you know, when he's at home, but more of a pretty boy, hamming it up, having fun, a little more vain, I guess. So he's really good in this role, and yeah, it's strong recommend. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, Ray Romano, also great person as a supporting role. It's not often that we get Ray Romano in a prominent acting role these days. Like the last time I saw him in anything before this was Big Sick, probably. Yeah. So great film. Definitely go watch it. It's super well produced. I can't wait to see what Corey Finley does next. I think he released another movie I haven't seen yet, but yes.
Let me see.
Corey Finley, great director. Glad he made this. I think what was the other film? Landscape of an Invisible Hand, that came out last year.
Okay, I have not
yet to watch.
Seen that. I recognize that poster because the poster's so unique, but I did not see that.
And then he also worked on We Crashed with Jared Leto and Anne Hathaway, the Apple TV series.
About the WeWork. Is it the WeWork?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yes. I watched a documentary about WeWork, and then that miniseries came out around the same time, and I just was like, I just watched a documentary, so I didn't watch the miniseries. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, should we get into our number 4, which is also my number 3?
Yes.
But like I said, most of these movies are kind of equal to me, except for the last one. So I don't mind talking about it here. So yeah, my number 3 and your number 4.
It is The Sound of Metal, and this was one I did get to rewatch. This one is Prime. This was one of those, as Lucas knows, I somehow many years ago got to be a part of this like Amazon program where they once in a while will let me watch some shows or movies like a advanced screener and give feedback. I think what I see is pretty much the final version. So I got to watch this before it eventually did go on Amazon Prime to the public. So I watched it quite a while ago, but then I did rewatch it probably about 4 or 5 months ago because I really liked it, as obvious, being into my number 4, and wanted to rewatch it in general and then rewatch it for the purposes of this podcast. So I do remember it pretty well, having seen it recently. So I'll try to give a little overview of it, and I know you've seen it, so you can chime in if I miss anything. But it deals with Riz Ahmed and his partner, girlfriend, Olivia Cook, are a couple that's like a heavy metal duo band where he's the drummer and she's like the lead singer and guitarist. And so he early on, not really a spoiler, it's the whole premise, started experiencing hearing loss pretty significantly. And then, and obviously exacerbated by him playing in a heavy metal band. It's not helping. And I would say they're moderately successful. They kind of just travel around in their own like trailer thing, but they're not rich and famous, but they're kind of well known within like the underground metal scene, it seems like, and they're doing okay, but they're not famous and they're not super poor, but they're getting by. And he goes to the doctor and gets the bad news that looks like it's irreversible and he needs to stop playing if he wants to preserve what hearing he does have.
Correct.
And so what makes this movie interesting to me, besides it's well made, both the leads and then the guy who runs the home he goes to later. The acting's great, so all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But why I liked this movie so much was that it really captures with Riz Ahmed in his character's journey of what it's like when your identity kind of gets taken away, because all he
Yeah.
knows is he's a drummer, he does music, and he's a very I don't know, organ, like type A organ, like he gets up,
Yes.
he does his push-ups, he makes his green healthy smoothie.
Yeah.
He's kind of got a structured life even though they're on the road, and he's pretty rigid about how he goes about things. And he's also he was a drug addict, right?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
he's currently clean, but
Yeah.
so he's kind of got his life structured, the way of doing things, and then everything gets pulled out, and his identity of being a drummer gets taken away because he shouldn't drum, and if he can't hear, then how is he going to drum, and then how is he going to be who he is? So everything's kind of getting taken away from him, and he has to. The last 2/3 of the movie are about him processing that kind of, and he goes to a home that's for people experiencing hearing loss and deafness, uh, and he doesn't want to be there, but he kind of needs to be there. So it just, who is your identity? What is your identity when
Yeah.
what you think you are gets taken from you? How do you deal with that? Can you have a purpose when you think your whole purpose gets taken away? How do you function?
Yeah.
All those kind of things it explores really, really well and really powerfully. And it is pretty heavy, but
Yes.
it also is, there's enough hopefulness there and love. And the guy who runs the home that he's at, that's kind of it's not their therapist, but the leader, I don't know what
Yeah.
the role you would call that, but the person that's running the group home is really good. And he got nominated for Best Actor, and the movie got nominated for a bunch of awards.
Yes.
Yeah, really good. I know you liked it a lot. You have it at number 3, but what do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, so I basically the same things I said. Riz Ahmed, like Oscar worthy performance. Obviously, he didn't win it, but like definitely deserved it in terms of like the incredible acting role that he gave. Something to mention that you told me before I had seen it was watch it with headphones, and I actually did. This movie's sound design is like a character in the film, because at moments you are in the perspective of Riz Ahmed's character, but at moments you're not. So to listen to headphones gives you a really like accurate feeling to how sound sounds to him. And it's a lot of like vibrational and a lot of like
Yeah,
pounding, especially like when he's drumming or when he's showing drumming off. Because there's moments like when he is part of the group home where he's like teaching younger kids who also have deafness how to like drum on like buckets, which I think is a really
yeah,
cute scene.
yeah,
But yeah, if you have the chance, like watch it on with headphones because it like really accurately makes you feel it. And I was watching a video on how they did the sound design of it. They like used a few different microphones to like give that accurate sound. And one of the microphones they used was a contact microphone, which I actually know a little bit about, which is you place it on something and it makes the sound of the sounds of the surface that it's on. And so it has this like kind of underwater feel to it almost, which isn't quite what's happening to his ears, but that's kind of how it sounds. So it gives a really accurate like depiction of that. And there are moments of this movie that are like almost silent, because you
yeah,
are just experiencing the visual language around the disability of being deaf, which is really interesting. And another thing that this movie also touches on, because he is playing a character who is a sober character, is about addiction and how he responds to this is very much like an addict with withdrawal. And they actually deliberately say that a few times in the movie. But between all of the arcs there's 3 different arcs of the film, which is losing hearing, living without hearing, and then getting artificial hearing, which is a minor spoiler, but it happens not so close to the end, but I think that's important to mention. And it's just a really solid like film that displays disability. I would say I can't say accurately because I don't have deafness, but from what I've heard, this feels very helpful for someone who is not disabled to understand a little bit better and empathize with those who are, but also to view it through the perspective of just because you are disabled doesn't mean you are not unable to live, and you're not unable to find new meaning in your life. Like you said, new identity. I think my favorite scene of this whole film is the final scene, which takes place at a park. And I won't say too much of how that scene goes, but I think it is just such a accurate character study, and that scene is just kind of the perfect pinnacle of the movie, leading up to that moment. So yeah, that's what I have to say. Any other thoughts?
Nope. It's really good. Watch it.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into my number 4, which is Tenet, which I actually just most recently rewatched about a day ago, as of recording this, which is...
Did it stay in your same spot, or did it move up or down when you rewatched it?
It didn't change in the list, but like I said, all of these movies are pretty equal in my opinion. But I will say my perspective of the movie changed, because I think when I saw it originally, which I'm going to out myself on this one, which is I did watch this movie for the first time illegally because it did not feel safe to go back to movie theaters to see this, which this was one of the first movies that was showing in theaters in 2020 after lockdown. And I was like, I really want to see this movie, but there's no theaters near me that are showing this, / it just feels super unsafe to go out right now and go to a movie theater. That just doesn't seem like a smart move at all. I did end up later, purchasing it and watching it legitimately later. But I watched a cam version of this movie, which, Russell, have you ever done that before?
What version?
A cam version, which means someone probably recorded it in a movie theater.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not the highest of quality. And this was probably the only time I was willing to do that. But like me and my housemate at the time, Duncan, who you've seen on this podcast before, we Duncan, just like really wanted to see it. So we're like, we're gonna watch it. This is for us, because we were both very like big fans of Nolan at the time. Yeah. And I gotta say, like, this is probably Christopher Nolan's most Nolan-y film. I gotta say. It's just him being as bombastic and as crazy as Nolan can get. And I can see why this movie is controversial. But honestly, I really loved it, and I have a hard time finding me being upset with it. But it's controversial because it doesn't make a lot of sense, but Nolan's not really typically known for that. It's like Inception, where you gotta watch it twice, or The Prestige, where you gotta watch it twice to really absorb everything that's in the story. And this movie is like, it's a sci-fi Bond film. You can't tell me that it's Nolan not making a Bond film.
I won't.
Because, well, no, I'm not saying that you wouldn't, but like, if you watch this through the lens of like, this is a Bond movie with more sci-fi-esque things, you're like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because it feels like a Bond movie. Like, the dress is all sleek and magnificent. The action's really technical, and there's a lot of like improvisation, like moments in the film where characters have to improvise because things are, you know, not going the way that they're supposed to. There's a big save the worlds kind of aspect to it. But this movie is, it's so I'll kind of explain how it works. But it's a time manipulation movie. So there's like this pseudo time travel aspect to it, but it's not like you're going back in time. You're more like moving reverse in time. They say the reverse of entropy in this film. So like when a bullet is shot, maybe the bullet doesn't hit something, it actually goes back into the gun. And you see characters that are moving backwards than or in reverse, and how that is done like kind of breaks my brain a little bit logically. It like doesn't make sense. Like I seen how they explained how it's filmed, and it's still, my brain's like, how does this even work? It's so fascinating, and my brain's like, I just want to keep chewing on it, like on a visual language aspect. The some of the flaws with this movie is you can't always hear the dialogue. Like if you're gonna use subtitles, this is a movie where you're kind of gonna need it to really kind of understand what's going on. And even with the dialogue, it doesn't quite make a lot of sense. But I think that's kind of the fun of it. Like it's not this movie where if you trying to understand this movie isn't what makes this movie fun. What makes this movie fun is how trippy and weird it is, and how it works, and like how original conceptually this film is. Because like Nolan is like kind of one of the few directors these days that gets these massive budgets to make these massive original films.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky that we got something like this. What's especially funny about this in 2024 is that this film is both talks about like nuclear, Fallout war stuff, and they actually make a reference to Oppenheimer, which is hilarious because Nolan's following film was a biopic on Oppenheimer, which is quite funny that this film is both a precursor and a response to Oppenheimer, which is kind of funny. Another aspect I really want to say about this film is the score is almost a character in this film, because it speaks as loud as the dialogue or the action scenes are. The score is by Ludwig Göransson, who's worked on Black Panther, and has now worked on Oppenheimer and many other things like Mandalorian. And there's just there's such a visceral to the music. Like there's a couple of songs where there's like intense like augmented breathing sounds in it, which really fits to like kind of what's going on in the film. And then there's a lot of like heavy synths and digital aspects to it to really give it that like kind of artificial futuristic feeling to it. John David Washington, I mean, the thing that I had seen him previous to this was BlacKkKlansman with Spike Lee. He is a fantastic, like, Bond-like figure. He is incredible in this movie. He plays such a good, like, action spy espionage hero. Super fun character. Very charismatic. I'm really interested in him as what he does. Also, his basically best friend character, Robert Pattinson, is also incredible in this movie. Mm-hmm. Just super good stuff. Other good cast members are in this. I'm gonna look it up. I was like, I just watched this, so it's so fresh in my head.
Dubecki. Oh, my glasses just broke.
Oh no.
That's a bummer. Yeah. Darn it.
Oh no.
Good thing we're not doing a video pod, but you can keep the audio in.
Okay. Yeah, Elizabeth Debicki.
I'm going on vacation in 2 days. Kenneth Branagh's in it. That's like kind of the villain.
Yeah.
Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yep.
Harry Potter. Oh man.
Michael Caine has a small role in this.
How did they break?
Who else is in this that I'm forgetting? Who has a smaller role? Aaron Taylor Johnson is in this for a small moment.
Yeah.
Great film. If you're looking for like Bond-esque, this is a great place to look. This movie also had my favorite technical aspect. The inverted filming is like such a trippy thing to look at. Like it is visually super strange and interesting, especially when you look at like smoke or water or dust. Like those kinds of things really make that like feel visceral and real. The movie starts hard and just doesn't drop the ball. It starts with this crazy action scene at an opera, at a symphony, and it just like keeps going from there. Yeah. What do you have to say about this, Russell?
I have to say that I hope these will at least stay on my face when I'm not moving around too fast. I'm gonna have to go to Costco this afternoon and see if I can get some new frames. But I'm good to finish the pod.
Okay.
Well, I've had my glasses break when I like play basketball and the ball like smashes into the side of my face and kind of bends and breaks the frame. But I've never had them. They must have been close to breaking, and I was just kind of fiddling with it, and I wasn't really doing anything. Okay, so Tenet. Yes. I like Tenet. A pretty good amount. It's a lot of fun. Not that we're doing a Christopher Nolan ranking pod, but it does go pretty far down on my Nolan list.
Yes.
And I did rewatch it, not recently. I bought it and watched it, when it came out that fall, and then rewatched it maybe a year and a half ago. It definitely, like most of his movies, but this one, as much as any, you need to rewatch it to get a better sense of what's going on. So I wish I had rewatched it. I wish I hadn't waited like a year and a half between watches. I wish I would have watched it like twice in a week, because I had forgotten a good amount of it, or like specific things that I wanted to think more about. So I need to rewatch it again. But I would agree with like what you said. Really fun. You can see me on the video, but hey, the glasses stay on my head pretty good. But even with it's not okay. I can carry on.
Sorry,
it's all right. We can expense it to the podcast fund.
Yeah, sure.
Just kidding.
the lack of money that there is.
I'll just be a little bit of the contrarian. I like it. I don't love it. And I think for me, it's one of those where the whole is less than the sum of its parts. Because like there are individual scenes in this movie that are as good as anything you'll ever see.
Right.
The one of those, that fight scene where I don't want to spoil, where the plane, the plane runs into the thing, and the scene in the beginning in like the big theater room or whatever. There's just so many really good, and the car chase scene. There's just it's where like so many of the scenes are amazing, and the whole movie's one of the most original you'll see. But I find myself, it's one of those, and I've had this with some other movies, is where I can't ever quite understand what's going on, or like what certain things I should care about or not, and then it makes it hard to know what to focus on, or I feel it's so lost that I'm not quite sure what the stakes are or what I'm supposed to be caring about or rooting for, and then that kind of detracts from my overall experience. Where, like I said, each individual scene might be amazing or riveting at certain times, but it doesn't quite kind of congeal all together for me. If I reserve the right to be wrong, where if I watched it like 3 times this week, which I'm not going to do, but if I did, maybe it would all come together for me and be like one of my favorite films. But I couldn't quite get there, but I, like you, put it in my best technical aspect. And I didn't necessarily pick a specific thing, like you said, filming backwards, which maybe that would be it for me, but just so many of the scenes do involve the backwards stuff. So I get like with the chase and the fight scene. So I guess that would be the specific aspect. But I will also point out, like we did, a lot of the big budget movies this year got delayed.
Yes.
So there aren't a lot for it to compete with, but it still might have been the most technically interesting movie no matter what came out this year. But yeah, it's fun. If you haven't seen it by now, you should definitely.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is, like, along with this movie and a few others in our list, there were a few movies that accidentally, like, spoke to the experience that was going on in 2020. This was one of them, because there are several characters that you see wearing a mask to cover your face and breathe in proper air, which was something that we as regular citizens in 2020 were very used to that experience. Love and Monsters would also be one where it's kind of a bunker and like a lack of isolation of people. And then one of the other ones, which we will get to, which is my number one, we'll get to a little bit later. But I felt like Tenet in particular was one that really accurately like kind of spoke to some of the experiences going on in that year in particular. I will say, I think something that I appreciated that made this experience better for me is, one, I watched a very blurry cam version of this movie. Then I watched it again with its perfect accurate look with subtitles. So to go from lack of clarity and quality and not understanding to having a much better understanding of this movie with a lot more clarity was kind of a fun experience in itself, which I don't think anyone else could replicate perfectly. But anyways, that's what I'll say about Tenet.
Nolan. This one was, I believe, right on Max, HBO Max at the time. I guess it was technically HBO Max, and then since then it's been shifted to Max, but I'll just call it HBO Max. And then I did rewatch it in the last 6 months when it popped back onto HBO Max. It is currently not on there, but Lucas, in our little break while I worked on my glasses, said it's free on... You said Freevee or Tubi right now?
Freevee, so Amazon Prime.
It's on basically. Freevee. So, yeah, if you want to watch it. So, this is a really powerful movie. This is another, that's the theme, serious character-driven dramas about people going through something pretty serious. Because all the big budget movies got delayed. So my list is like 5 similar dramas. And I like those kind of movies anyways. But okay. So Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always is the story of 2 young ladies that 17, 18, 19-ish, I forget exact age. And I'm going to bring it up on my IMDb. I'll just read the premise. A pair of teenage girls, they're really good friends. They're not, I forget if they're cousins, but they're either really good friends and or cousins, but very, very close. Teenage girls in rural Pennsylvania. They're just kind of in a town. They're not in the middle of nowhere. And travel to New York City to seek out medical help after an unintended pregnancy. So, it's basically the story of 2 young ladies that are close, like I said, and one of them does have an unintended pregnancy. And that's kind of like the beginning of the movie. That's not a spoiler. And so they together, but the one that is pregnant, is kind of exploring the idea of, excuse me. Now I got my snack stuck, a little peanut stuck in my throat from, I think I got my water. That's the problem with those granola bars and things with peanuts is you get a little peanut stuck. So she's thinking about terminating the pregnancy, and so it basically you follow those 2 as they go into the bigger city, they travel to New York, how they get there, how they get the money to get there, because they're both relatively young, like older teenagers and just work at like a grocery store. They visit like a pregnancy clinic, one that's more like encouraging them, like a pro-life type place, and So it's really, what's so interesting about this is not even, I don't even think it really is much about the politics of abortion, pro-life, pro-choice stuff.
Yeah.
It's really just getting you in the shoes and the journey of what it is like to be a young woman with an unwanted pregnancy. And I also don't think this is really a spoiler, but it's kind of clear that her boyfriend or the father, there's kind of some non-consensual stuff
Gotcha.
going on there. So it doesn't make it super explicit, but so you're this young woman, unintended pregnancy, can't really talk to your parents about it. The boyfriend, kind of abuser, isn't in the scene, or doesn't want to talk to him about it, and you have to travel hours to New York, this huge city, and you're 18 or whatever. How are you navigating this? And should you keep it? So it really just gets you in the shoes, and it is pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And I won't explain what the title means, but that's it's a pretty powerful scene when you're kind of becomes clear what the title of the movie is referring to.
Gotcha.
So one of the interesting things, but it's also one of my criticisms of it does really tackle a lot of the sexism and harassment and like I said, maybe perhaps sexual assault, rape that women in this case, experience. And my criticism though is it is a little heavy-handed at times, because just on their whole journey, this is a movie that it almost feels like a documentary, because it's really low, but I can't, maybe shot with handheld stuff sometimes, and you feel very, very realistic feel and lighting and all that, but it does come down pretty hard with the amount of harassment they experience along their journey, and guys aggressively flirting with them on the bus and the train, and just all this stuff where it's it lays it on pretty thick.
Got it.
Which you can't really respond if you agree or not because you haven't seen it, but that when I first saw it, I was I kind of noticed that, but when I watched it again, I was like, okay, they probably should have toned that back a little bit. And it's not that those things don't happen, but I felt like it was laid it on a little thick, a little heavy-handed with that, but very powerful, very well acted, and really, with Sound of Metal and the father, putting me in the shoes of someone who's experiencing a hardship that I haven't experienced and what it would be like to be in that situation.
Right.
Yeah. So strong recommend. It's on Freevee.
Awesome. Sounds good. Yeah, this looks very interesting. I trust your judgment on it. Let's jump into your number 2, since we already did my number 3. And we'll just keep the ball rolling.
Let's do it. And so I picked Minari.
Awesome.
And that one is not on your list, but you saw it, but I'll have you chime in soon. I'll read the IMDb little blurb. A Korean-American family moves to an Arkansas farm in search of its own American dream. Amidst the challenges of new life in the strange and rugged Ozarks, they discover the undeniable resilience of family and what makes a home. So, yeah, there's probably a pretty good chance some people have seen this. I believe also was nominated for, won Oscar.
Yes.
It won Best Supporting Actress. That's right. How could I forget that? Nominated for a bunch of others, picture, actor, directing. Another A24 movie. So, yeah, I also rewatched this one in the last year. Yeah, I really like this movie. Another movie where you get to go along on the journey of characters kind of experiencing unique circumstances and hardships. Yeah. Kind of another realistic drama. It's based, I wouldn't say loosely, but I understand somewhat closely on the director and writer's life growing up in, the 80s in Arkansas as a Korean-American immigrant family. And let's see, why is this my number 2? another one of those. I know we always say it, but really well made, really well
Yes.
acted.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of goes without saying. Uh, I really liked. I think it really. I am not an immigrant, but I think it captures the immigrant experience really well. About like the experiences of kind of cultural clash and being in a new place, assimilation. How do you keep your traditional some of your traditions? How do you kind of fit in a new place? And I really liked. Well, speaking of the movie I just was talking about, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, being a
Mm-hmm.
little at times heavy-handed with dealing with the sexism and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, I really liked the way it dealt with some of the subtle racism and
Yes.
microaggressions they
Yeah.
experienced. It definitely dealt with it and showed some of it, but it wasn't as heavy-handed as the previous movie I mentioned. So, and this movie set 30-ish years ago. I don't remember the exact year. Yeah, Steven Yeun is great as always. And I think I liked him even more the second time I watched it. And yeah, there's definitely some good religious stuff because
Yes.
they are a Christian family, Korean Christian family, but they're in a really unique place in the United States, and how the church that they start going to there is definitely different from what they experience.
Right.
So yeah, there's just so much of the cross cultural stuff, and I think I'll let you talk now, but you got to talk about Grandma, the gal who won Best Actress. But
Yes.
yeah, why don't you? Yeah, I think you liked it, but it's not on your
Yeah.
list.
I didn't. I didn't think it was. I definitely thought it was. It was pretty solid. I think I rated it at a 9 out of 10. I think it's possible that this movie could have made my top 10 list if we had done a top 10 list. I think there were just other movies that caught my attention more this year, and I think also based on the posture of 2020, I think you and I kind of had a little bit of a different space of like you were more willing to engage with certain stories that were very big character studies on like real experiences, and I had a couple of those, but I think like as we go through and do 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, you'll start to realize like I had a bit of a shift, and I'll talk a little bit about that shift later, on what I was gravitating towards. And I think just like when this movie came out, I wasn't like gravitating towards some of the harder realities of this movie, and some of the heavier moments were harder for me to digest, I think. Um, and that's why I don't think it was as high on my list as others. But yes, obviously a big fan of Steven Yeun. Really enjoyed Han Yuri. Also was pretty solid in it. As well as Alan Kim in somewhat of a debut role. Was
But the boy.
solid. Yeah, the younger boy was really solid as well. And yeah, I thought the religious aspects were interesting too. To mention that solid. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
Oh, good.
Cool.
What you got? Your number two.
My number two, which I gotta say, there are a few movies on my list that I would say were super underrated. This one takes the cake for being most underrated, which is Vast of the Night, which was this movie that is set in the 1950s, and the two characters that this movie focuses around, I'll say their names, which is Faye and Everett are the in movie names, played by Sarah McCormick and Jake Horowitz. Those two discover something mysterious going on in their town. And the whole movie kind of takes place in real time a little bit. But I gotta say, this movie had my favorite scene of 2020 in general, which was the phone switch scene, where Sierra Faye's running a phone line business, and she's like, here, gotta call for this, and everything's happening during the high school basketball game, so most of the town is at the basketball game, so there's not a lot of people not there. But they start hearing weird noises, and then they bring it over to the radio station where Everett's character, Jake Horowitz's character, starts playing the sound and seeing if anyone who's listening will recognize it. And there's just a bunch of weird things going on, and I don't really want to spoil it because that's kind of the intrigue of the film. But this movie is shot super well for such a low budget film. It was a directorial debut. It's set in New Mexico, and it plays in real time. It's this like incredible period piece. It's got some Twilight Zone inspiration to it. The tension that's built throughout this movie is like mostly coming from audio. And so it kind of just like locks you in right around the second third of the movie, and you just kind of start going for a ride on it, and it's just really exciting. This movie has haunted me in the best way possible since I've seen it. Like, it just still sticks in my head of how like good of a film it was. Just how good the characters are nailed, how good the tension is built. The acting really sells a lot of the tension. And so I just gotta say, like, go into this as blind as you can. It's super good. Andrew Patterson, the director, needs to make more stuff. Just such a good movie. I have watched this twice, and I watched it with my grandmother the second time, who grew up during this time, during some of the 1950s, so she could relate to some of the like dress and iconography that's going on. So I felt that like was a kind of a cool connection point. But super good movie. Definitely recommend this to everyone. It's got really good tension. It's a good little thriller. I wouldn't say there's anything that's like super scary about it if you're worried about it being like horror. But go in knowing that there's going to be some tension, and it's a solid 90-minute fast movie, and it's just shot super well. So definitely go watch Fast of the Night. Any thoughts you want to share, Russell?
I did watch it. It's on Prime and Freevee for those who want to watch it. I remember being really it kind of came out of nowhere, and all the, it was like, oh, this new movie is gonna be on Prime, and it's will remind you of some, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or early Steven Spielberg movies, or some older sci-fi. It's like kind of a throwback sci-fi. And so I watched it pretty excited. And I watched it, and I just thought it was okay. I honestly don't remember too much about. I got the trailer auto playing right now on the IMDb page. I remember some of that. It's been 4 years. Don't remember it super well. I remember wishing I liked it more than I did, but I definitely didn't dislike it.
Yeah. This is definitely more of a me movie, it's for unique. Sure. Yeah.
I would say unique. But so I don't really have anything else to add.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's why don't we wait, have you done your number 2? Did we do your number 2?
Yeah, that was Minari.
Okay. So let's do our old movie before we do our final films. So what was your old movie?
So like I said earlier, this year 2020 was the year that I watched more old movies than I ever had, and maybe since college. And one thing that I accomplished, which although this is unrelated to the movie I'm picking, is I finally, I think it was the year I completed watching every movie that had won Best Picture. So there was a handful of ones that maybe hadn't stood the test of time as well, that people don't talk about much, that I just hadn't seen, or like some of the really old ones. So I don't know if that was like 10 or 15, but I like worked my way through, and that was still when I used a lot of Netflix discs, which
Yes.
finally ended in 2023, but that was a way to get, they still had all these old movies that weren't streaming. Some of them were streaming places, but a lot weren't. So I watched a bunch, but one that I wanted to highlight, which is not a Best Picture winner, is a movie called Jacob's Ladder, and that came out in 1990. And it's one of those I've heard of, was kind of vaguely aware of it, but I don't think at the time it was a huge movie, but it stars Tim Robbins. So again, I haven't seen this in about 4 years now, but it's mourning his dead child. A haunted Vietnam War veteran attempts to uncover his past while suffering from a severe case of disassociation. To do so, he must decipher reality and life from his own dreams, delusions, and perceptions of death. So I remember it's kind of a mixture of like horror. I mean, sci-fi with a little bit of horror, because it is a little bit kind of a thriller and a little bit scary.
Yeah.
A guy, yeah, he's another one of those where he's what's real, what's not, what's from my memory and my PTSD, and what's happening now. So it's pretty trippy, and I just hadn't. It was one I hadn't watched. And it came out when I was pretty young, but obviously I was too young at the time. But yeah, it was just one of those where it's like, I've known about this movie forever, but I just never pulled the trigger, and I finally did, and I was really glad. I liked it quite a bit. So that's Jacob's Ladder, 1990. So 30 years before 2020.
I had not heard about this movie until you had told me you had watched it. It seems to be by the same director as Flashdance.
Fatal Attraction.
Yeah.
He does a lot of erotic thrillers. But
Yes.
This movie, I guess, has some eroticism, but I wouldn't call it an erotic thriller. But like Fatal Attraction, Indecent Proposal, which that actually is Indecent Proposal, the one that just. Oh no, that's a different one. There's a miniseries that just came out on Apple Plus with a similar name that. It's based on a movie and book from the 90s that I watched during the pandemic. But so yeah, he does a lot of erotic thrillers. And Flashdance.
Seems really interesting. Just added it to my watch list. I will definitely check it out later. My old movie, somewhat connected to yours, since yours had a character that was a Vietnam War veteran. I watched the movie that basically is the Vietnam War movie, Apocalypse Now. And I actually watched the Redux version, which had come out that year. I believe in 2020 or late 2019. And that was the first time I got to view it. I watched the director's cut version of it. The very famous, obviously, Francis Ford Coppola, starring Martin Sheen and Marlon Brando, as well as many others. Seeing this movie just made me realize how much of a cultural touchstone it is in cinema, how much it gets referenced, how much, how important it is, how much it gets parodied. Like, every interpretation you see of the Vietnam War in TV or movies since this movie came out has some reference to this movie. And it sounds like, I haven't watched the full behind the scenes of it, but it sounds like this movie was like pretty insane to make as well.
I've seen that documentary.
I think some big standouts for me, the color palette of this movie is so stark, like a lot of greens, oranges, browns, like really deep, rich, saturated colors. To kind of show off the, like, you know, tone of the film. I mean, this is probably the youngest role I've seen Martin Sheen in, who's, you know, obviously incredible. And Marlon Brando, also love. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about this because this movie's been talked about to death in
Yeah.
in culture. But yeah, if you haven't seen Apocalypse Now and you can handle the severity of the film, like it's really solid. Definitely watch it. Very excited for what Coppola's about to do, releasing his new film Megapolis very soon. So yeah, I great film. Don't have much else to say than that.
Yeah. I watched it in like college and then probably like 10 years ago. It's one of those where I think I've only seen it twice and need to
Yeah.
probably watch again. But it's sometimes those longer kind of
Yes.
intense ones are intimidating.
Yes.
It's like 3.5 hours, and but I do remember liking it a lot.
Yeah. So you haven't seen the director's cut Redux version, right?
I believe so. Is director's cut Redux to be different than the director's cut?
Whatever the
I think
version
I've seen
I
the
watched
director's
was
cut.
the Redux version, which is supposedly the definitive Coppola version of the movie.
Were you saying that was just released or just released
It
for
was
streaming?
it was released the year
I thought that's what I had, the DVD, but I don't know.
it was released the
It's been
year.
so long.
Let me look it up. Apocalypse Now.
I've been aware that there's multiple versions, and I thought I have watched the like recommended director's version, but I don't know if there's the new version.
Oh, you know what it was? Okay, so the Redux was released in 2001, where it added
Yeah.
like 49 minutes, but the version I watched was the 4K remastered
Got it.
version of the Redux. So
Okay.
that's why.
I have not seen that.
Which we may have watched the same version.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, cool. Let's do some number ones, shall we?
Oh yeah, we have number ones.
Yep.
That's right. I guess we'll do the pattern of me going first.
Yep.
So I picked Nomadland, which you
Mhm.
have seen, and I know
have
this will
seen.
be one where you didn't like as much. So
I did
that'll be
not
good
like
that
this
you
movie as
can
much. Yeah.
tell me how I'm wrong. So Nomadland, that this is pretty famous because it did go on to win Best Picture, right?
Yeah.
And I agree. For me, this is a clear, easy number one for this year in a very weak year of movies.
Yes.
And I think even in an average year of movies would be like a number one or a two for me. And I'll tell you why. And I did rewatch this in the last 6 months, and it still was my clear number one. And this one is Prime? Wait, Hulu. It's on
Hulu. Yeah.
Hulu. Still there when I watched it like 6 months ago. Hulu for those that want to watch that haven't. So Nomadland. If you didn't know, it's this another character-driven, realistic drama. It's Frances McDormand, who's always great.
Always
plays the lead, and she is a woman that is kind of entering a new phase of her life, kind of in her 60s, still kind of working. Not much of a spoiler about her husband, or actually, does it start with her husband already dead?
Yes,
she
I believe so.
She works seasonally for Amazon in a little more rural Nevada, outside of like Reno, I think, over maybe up past Sparks or somewhere up there. Weather's kind of bad seasonally, and they lived in a town that was kind of a little bit of a thriving small town, working for some company where everyone there kind of worked for the one company, but that company left, or when I think it moved, and so it turned into a ghost town. So her life's kind of upended from her community, her job. Her husband has recently died, and she's still got a lot of good years. She's like in her 60s and still healthy and active, and wanting to work, needing to work. And so where the name Nomadland comes in is she lives out of she kind of has a van that is kind of her home, and travels around. And so I don't need to recount too much of what the movie's about, but I'll just go into why I found it so moving. Was a few unique aspects to me. the actress and the character are basically my parents' age and generation. Um, and so in some ways I feel, not that she's exactly like my parent, although she in some ways did kind of remind me of my parents, but just a lot of the people I grew up knowing just are of people of that generation, which I guess, your parents are like a generation below mine, and your grandparents are, since we're about 12, 13 years apart. So you're kind of in the in-betweens. I just kind of feel like I knew her character, and she does such a good job acting that, you do connect with her pretty easily. But, and my favorite scene of the year was, when I was thinking through things, this is just the one I picked. There could have been a better scene in a different movie, but this is just the one that stood out for me when I rewatched it. So like I said, she travels around living out of her inn with her van. What is it called? Boondocking. So she travels kind of around the country doing some different jobs when she can, kind of living hand to mouth. And there's a scene where she's at a kind of trailer, like a mobile home park where people, stay for camping or living kind of seasonally or longer term. And there's parts in the movie where the character, she kind of comes across David Strathern, that actor you recognize. He kind of befriends her and maybe is romantically interested in her, but there are various times in the movie where she kind of spurns him or like keeps him at arm's length. You can tell she's not ready to. I think she's been hurt by, losing her job, losing her community, losing her husband.
Yes.
That she wants to hold the world at arm's length.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. She just doesn't want to be hurt. But she's, on the other hand, she's this super social, friendly person that loves helping others. Yeah. And like she lights up even when she's working and just being part of a team, even if it's like just kind of doing an Amazon job, with boxes and like, so she's not, she loves being a part of a community, but she keeps pushing people away and resisting community. So it has this like push and pull. And so there's this scene where it's, I believe, if I remember right, it's New Year's Eve, and she's at this mobile home camping park, and she's walking around with sparklers, like those little fireworks sparkler things, and like smiling at people. And you can just see like she wants to be around people so bad and celebrate, but she's also like doing all these things to push people away. And I thought that scene just captured the like tension and struggle of what her character's going through. Yeah. And like the themes of the movie. And it was just so powerful seeing her like walking around, and it might have brought me to tears. And so just a couple other quick, it's one of those, it's by Chloe Zhao, who did, which I don't think you saw this one, but a few years back she did
The Writer, right?
Why can't I think of it? The Writer, which was in my top 3 to 5 from a 2017 or whatever, and on Obama's list. But The Writer, and I think she had almost finished Nomadland, but she got signed on to make the Marvel movie The Eternals, which I know that's considered one of the worst Marvel movies, but regardless of how anyone feels about The Eternals, her movie The Writer and Nomadland were so good that that's what helped her like get a job making a several $100 million movie, because she's so good at her movies are capture America and the scenery and people and characters so well. This is another movie that almost feels like a documentary, and it has some powerful themes besides the community stuff that I was talking about, of kind of looking at, and I wouldn't say it's like totally anti-capitalism, but it's like it kind of interrogates what is it, capitalism in America, and money and work and retirement and travel. So, and it's kind of a little bit of a road trip movie because she's traveling around working different places, so you get to see different parts of the United States and come across different people. So yeah, love the movie. I think it's great. Easily my number one. So why didn't this one click for you? I gotta know. Tell the people.
Yeah, I think it really just boils down to I didn't feel connected to the themes and what the character was going through. It just like, it's not the experience that I understand. It's not something that I felt like I could easily empathize with. I wouldn't necessarily say the movie was bad by any means. I gave it an 8 out of 10 according to what I have it listed here as. But yeah, I just feel like I didn't connect with what the life stage was talking about, the difference of like some of the discussions that it was talking about. It didn't click for me, which is totally fine. I would not say the movie objectively was bad or anything like that. It just was not what stuck, in my opinion. And I think this might be something that I go back and watch, a few years later, when I've aged a little bit. But I think like I just felt like I didn't connect with it as well as others did. So yeah, that was purely the reason why. I would not say it was a bad film or wouldn't recommend it to people. I just think it wasn't for me, and that's okay.
Forgive you. You'll revisit it in 30 years and be like, Russell was right.
Russell was right. Yeah,
it was the best movie of the year.
Yeah. Moving on from that, should we jump into my number one?
Oh yeah, that's what I forgot. We're not done. We got one more.
Yeah, we got one more.
Movie,
the last movie, which I have tried so hard to watch the movie before this, made by the same team, which was on your list, which was Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping. But my number one for 2020 was Palm Springs, which is another Lonely Island film. Look, the only reason this movie is number one is no other movie could have come out at such a pivotal time in culture and accurately like speak to the experience of what people were feeling at that moment, in a way that was fun, witty, and enjoyable. So Palm Springs, for those of you who have not seen Palm Springs, is about it surrounds this wedding that's happening. And the first scene is you going through the whole wedding for the first 15 minutes of the film. And then all of a sudden, Andy Samberg, he's kind of goofy. He's a little weird. He seems a little off. But then, Andy Samberg and, Kristen Melody, that is Niles and Sarah, both notice something's going on, some sort of earthquake, and Andy Samberg's like, no, don't follow me, I'm going, don't do this. And sure enough, Sarah's kind of the main character that you follow for most of the film, follows Niles into this like portal thing, and all of a sudden time resets, and we are in a Groundhog's Day scenario essentially. So you have this Groundhog's Day scenario surrounding a wedding. Sarah is playing the sister and maid of honor of the bride-to-be. And Andy Samberg, Niles, is playing one of the guests who is a +1 of one of the bridesmaids. And you quickly see of how shallow a lot of the characters in the wedding are. And they just kind of start to unravel because they realize they are alive and they can keep dying or whatever. So they do all the kind of the Groundhog's Day things, but it's just done in such a fun way, where you get to see these characters kind of like develop. Sarah's like kind of starts as like, okay, I'm gonna live this up for a little bit, starts mad, then enjoys it, then goes, I can't stay here. And then Niles also has to face the fact that, does he want to leave this, essentially repeating day where he has everything in his control and nothing matters? Or does he decide to take the risk and go forward in time and actually learn about, and actually take a risk on life kind of thing? So it's just a lot of fun. The Lonely Island, of course, since they're making it, they, It's super funny. It's super good. Some other standout actors. J.K. Simmons plays a pretty good role in this. Let's see here. Connor O'Malley plays a small, really funny role, who I think is incredibly funny. Yeah, definitely fun film. Goes by really fast. Another 90-minute, fast, quick, good comedy that just kind of accurately fit when it came out, because it was like, we were all like, felt like we were in this like repetition of lockdown. What does day today hold kind of thing? Are we going to do anything? Yes, no, maybe, whatnot, that sort of thing. So what do you have to say about Palm Springs, Russell?
I liked it a lot. I have it as my number 14, and I did rewatch this one. This possibly could, even though I've only seen it twice, end up being the movie I rewatched the most from the year. Maybe Tenet, because I know I'll watch that again some point, because it is, just like you were saying, fun and funny. I don't think I have too much to add about it in general. It's probably been about 2 years since I have rewatched it. But I think on the one hand, I really like how it kind of riffs on this, I don't know if it's its own genre or subgenre of the Groundhog Day type of films, which there's probably, a good 10 or so movies that are kind of in this genre now, and some books. Was it the movie called, or the book called Replay? There was a book I read a few years back, audiobook, that was kind of the start of this genre. I think the first on record, came out before the Groundhog Day movie. I think it's an 80s sci-fi book. But so I am a sucker for this subgenre of the Groundhog Day, Edge of Tomorrow, Palm Spring movie. So, and I think it does, it's self-aware that it is in that genre, and kind of playing off those a little bit, and aware of those. So then I guess if I were to have one thing to hold it back for, it was that because it is in that genre, it takes away some of the originality, and that we've seen, every, few years we get a movie that's somewhat like this. I guess a little bit more recently. There was some Prime movie that I forget, that was kind of, I should look up what that's called, but Maps, something about Maps. Did you see that movie? It was straight to Prime.
I don't think so.
Probably came out 2 or 3 years ago. It's kind of a romantic comedy, but in this genre, aimed at more like teenagers. But it's pretty good. But that's neither here nor there. But so, I liked it. It may be just, again, because it's one of quite a few movies of this genre now, it maybe wasn't quite as original. But other than that, would be my only complaint. It's not even really a complaint, but just something from keeping it from being a little higher. But I really liked it. Like I said, it's in my top 14. And it's really kind of could have been higher. But I liked it a lot. It's good. And Andy Samberg just seems like a good hang in real life. Whenever I hear him on podcasts, he's movie nerd, and just seems so down to earth. And he's from Oakland, right? So, we are an Andy Samberg and Brooklyn Nine-Nine house. Actually, no, we are in a Brooklyn Nine-Nine house. Aaron hasn't watched it. I have watched it. But so I liked it a lot. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our best of 2020 list.
We did it.
Yeah, we did it. Let's go. I would say, what are you looking forward to? Typically, we ask the question of what are you looking forward to in the next year, but
in 2021,
we kind of have some ideas on that, so I won't say that.
I'm looking forward to Dune.
Yeah.
What?
We'll get there. So yeah, let's call it right there. But thank you all for listening, and stay tuned because we're gonna record some more very shortly. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the TwoCast. I really appreciate people year after year, family and friends going, "Where's the podcast?" It's back. Thanks for supporting this show. Thanks for listening year after year. See you next time.